Patriots wide receiver Julian Edelman is facing a 4-game suspension for performance-enhancing substance. Now, that case is under appeal right now, and we'll see whether or not he can have any of that overturned. And the system's not infallible, and we'll see how it works out over time. But this is yet another interesting twist for the New England Patriots, with their wide receiver now facing a 4-game suspension moving forward. And obviously, he will try to fight this. He will try to have this reduced. The appeal right now is underway as we speak. But again, we talked about being there for OTAs and some of these other wide receivers now who could figure even more prominently. Plus, we also have a situation where we've seen this team, the Patriots team last year, started without Tom Brady for 4 games. It's missed Gronk at various points for 4 games. And now we've got a player who's coming off a torn ACL, who turned 32 years old last month, now obviously facing a 4-game suspension. So there's been a drop-off without Edelman. It's a security blanket. Now, they've got some other weapons there, and I think that points out how much they're going to have to count on Rob Gronkowski being back, and Sony Michel, and Jordan Matthews, who they signed in free agency to a bargain basement price, and Braxton Berrios, who they drafted out of Miami. But for 4 games, assuming that he doesn't win the appeal, they're going to have to make do without Julian Edelman.
Dan, let me ask you a question, because you made the point, and I agree completely, that this team is as good as any there is in the league in terms of, you know, patching holes, fixing fences, however you want to put it, next man up, if you will. Having said that, let's assume for just a minute that Edelman misses 4 games, and you can see them here. Does that change your perception at all of New England heading into the 2018 season as a whole?
You know, if Edelman had been injured in the last preseason game and they had a week and a half to figure it out, then I could see, oh, maybe they wobble against the Texans. They own the Texans. I mean, they always beat the Texans somehow, even when the matchup doesn't seem to be in their favor. At Jacksonville, tough defense, a team that almost knocked them out in the AFC Championship game, and then at the Lions, obviously a road game against a good Detroit team, and then a division game against the Dolphins. But, you know, the fact that it happens, if they find this out in June, in early June, and it's possible they've known for a while, they have time to figure it out. Does it mean guys like running backs like Rex Burkhead and James White figure more into the passing game? You know, those are guys that can catch the ball and make plays in the passing game. They have so many different pieces on offense. You give Bill Belichick 3 months to figure out, oh, we don't have Julian Edelman for September, he's going to come up with something.
That Jaguars game, who was big in that game? Danny Amendola.
Yes.
Was huge in that game.
He's no longer there.
They did it without Julian Edelman. I call him Jules. They did it without Julian there. He was hurt, of course, but Amendola was huge in that game. Amendola to Miami. So now there it is. You don't have Jules, all right?
That's a difference from that injury last year.
Now who's next? Now you're going to that third option and figuring out who that was. Even when Amendola first got there, it took him a little while. So, yes, 3 months. I see what you're talking about, Dan, but
So look at the list. Is that guy going to be Chris Hogan? Yeah. Is it going to be Kenny Britt? Is it going to be Philip Dorsett, Jordan Matthews, Malcolm Mitchell? Malcolm Mitchell is a guy I think that they're counting on coming back. But you see the list of wide receivers. Cordarrelle Patterson, I think, is going to be big in the return game. But can they count on him in that role? I don't know about that.
And even if they can't, even if, Jordan Matthews has experience as an NFL slot receiver, he can probably do what they need him to do. None of those guys has the trust level with Tom Brady that Julian Edelman has. When things go wrong, when the play breaks down, he knows what Edelman's going to do. It makes it even more important that Rob Gronkowski be out there and healthy.
Or that Amendola had. Now the Dolphins acquisition looks even bigger, Teddy. You're exactly right.
So, Wendy, let's go to Detroit here, and the new coach there in terms of Matt Patricia, knowing the New England Patriots, and knowing the way that Matt Patricia thinks, what he's going to do going into this Lions game is who? Take away Rob Gronkowski. Take him away and see what else there can be in terms of Tom Brady finding the answer. So if you're taking 2 weeks to figure things out, you'll definitely need to know what to do by week 3, because I guarantee you they'll be all over Gronkowski in that game. I mean, Glover Quinn, whoever it may be, on him to take him away. And so finding other answers and other places for Tom Brady is going to be important there.
But in the end, 2 years ago, we stood in front of a board similar to this and said, well, look at these first 4 games. They're not going to have Tom Brady for any of these games.
You're right.
What are they going to do? They went 3-1.
Yes, they went 3-1. And, I mean, you just 1-3 seems like as bad as it can get here. I mean, you never know. But even that, to your point, I agree.
Every one of these games, in my opinion, is losable to the New England Patriots because it's in this month. In this month where not only
different if it's in November.
Not only offensively where they're going to be figuring themselves out, but defensively with Brian Flores now pulling his weight now as the de facto defensive coordinator because Matt Patricia's in Detroit. So defensively, they'll have some things to figure out also. What can you usually count on when you have a defense that is figuring themselves out in New England? An offense that scores points. So if you have an offense that's struggling to score points because they're figuring themselves out what to do if Jules isn't there, and the defense also figuring out a new voice that's in the green dot helmet, you may have some problems.
Adam, let me ask you this as a person who broke this story. I know they've known for longer than we have, clearly. They try to keep this quiet, as you said. Did you sense there was surprise, that this caught
I'll tell you this,
everybody off guard?
There are people in the organization that did not know about it today.
Okay,
so
fair enough. So I would say yes.
There were people in the organization that did not know about it.